Welcome back, new MoveOn user. We assume you watched our introduction video, and now you're ready to start the Data Import Excel document. So let's get started by opening the document. You might already see right when you open the document, you get a security message, so from Microsoft saying warning about something. So what this is essentially is just a macro. All it means is that it's something that QS, when we set up the document, we installed some macros in the document so that when the process is finished, it can help us proof the document before we use it to import it. Now, if all that doesn't make sense to you, don't worry at all. You don't need to know anything about macros. We're just letting you know here at the start that macros are in the document. All you need to do every time you open it is just click the button, Enable Macros. That's all you need to do. Don't turn them off. So now let's look a little bit deeper at this Excel. You'll see that there's a whole bunch of tabs across the bottom. You might notice right away that it starts to look a little bit disjointed, where the first one is 00A, 00B, then it moves on to 01, 02, but then you start going in just even numbers of 06, but there's no 07, and there's a 08. Don't worry about that at all. You're not missing any tabs. The ones that are there are the ones that we've got to fill out. Today, we're going to be looking specifically at the first two tabs that appear on the left-hand side. That's 00A and 00B. So let's start with 00A, academic year. Basically what this comes down to is we need to know, as the framework and the setup of the house that we're building for you, is what are the years that we're talking about? Now, this might seem like a pretty obvious thing to you. You're probably, like most of our clients in the Northern Hemisphere, a lot of you start with fall, and the next term of your academic year is spring, and it goes from year to year, 2020 to 2021, and so on. However, we need to define these things in the system, because we do have some clients that might have the names of their semesters might be winter and spring. They might be in the southern hemisphere, where their summer and their winter are in reverse, of course, in the southern hemisphere, just like their fall and their spring. Some universities might call it semester A, semester B, so there's all kinds of variations, and we want to set these parameters in this tab. So generally what you're going to be looking to do here is in name, in column B, that's what you want this name to be called in your system. So if you do call it fall, write fall there. If you do call it spring, write spring. Sorry, it's year is in column B. So if you have the system where you have the whole word written out, 2019/2020, that's what you want to put there. If at your university everybody's used to that being called 19/20, so not 2019, but just 19/20, you can write that. Other universities like to write 19-20. So it's really all up to you. It can be exactly your configuration. Now let's go on to column C and column D. This is column C for start year, column D for end year. Basically what this means is when we want the system to exist for you. Now obviously, the world goes back a long, long time, and hopefully will exist for a very long time. But what we want for your system is what years exist of international activity at your university, right? So you could say, well, my university started in 1920, so I'm going to have everything start in 1920. But if you don't have any data from 1920, that's not really necessary. Generally speaking, what we advise is from the first years you have data, or you ever think you might have data, that's your start year. So let's say you know that your very first student went abroad in 1982. You can say 1982. Well, let's say you think you had some students going abroad in the 80s, but you don't really have that information right now. Maybe someday you'll get it. Maybe someday you'll want to add it. So you can just start arbitrarily with 1980. It doesn't really matter. The end date is how long you think either we'll all exist on this planet, or how long you think you'll be using MoveOn, or how long your students will exchange, or that you'll have international relationships, or whatever the case may be. So the end date, the end year, is sometime off into the future when we're old and gray. So you can put hypothetically 1940 or 2040, 2050, something like that. Again, it's not really that important. But before I go any further with that tab, please don't start adding anything right away, because we're going to have a way to auto-populate all those different dates. And with that in mind, let's jump into 00B, academic periods. So this is what I was talking about at the beginning, or a little bit earlier, is the periods. So again, things can can have a wide range at upart universities from semester A to semester B or semester 1, semester 2. And this is what we want to define. So if you use short name, it's in blue, but this isn't really used for internal reporting, so don't stress about it. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's, I think, enough.